Good morning. Today is the Friday, the 18th day of Kislev, and today we are completing the Tanya, we're finishing the Tanya. Be'ezrat Hashem, please join us Saturday night, tomorrow night, in the Chabad house. We're going to have a siyum and a farbringen for Yutes Kislev, which is the celebration of the Chag HaGeula, the redemption of the Alter Rebbe. We call it also the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus. And so everyone is invited tomorrow night, 7:30. And there's a time to also to encourage everyone to join this morning daily Tanya share.
Is it on YouTube?
Don't just Tanya, daily Tanya. Do it daily. This is the daily dose of part of the Chitas. Also, we have the links for the Chumash and the Tehillim and the Rambam, the other studying that we have. So we have in the description the link. So in this last part of the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is talking about 3 points. Point number 1 is talking about the importance, continuing from last chapter, from yesterday's lesson, about the importance of the learning of the davening. And here it focuses more about davening together with the minyan, with kavana. The second part, the Alter Rebbe talks about the custom of learning and finishing the entire Shas, the entire Talmud. That every community should conclude the entire Talmud together, and then when you do it together, it is considered as if everyone is doing it. And we'll go in details. And the last part, the Alter Rebbe talks about the importance of the Shabbos, and also not only the literal keeping of the Shabbos, but also the deeper meaning behind keeping the Shabbos. So let's go straight and look inside the Tanya. Second. Here we are. So Alter Rebbe begins this essay, Yocheach Teichiach es amisecha afilu meya pa'amim. There's a verse, you shall surely rebuke, reprove your friend. There's a number of things that in the Torah, it mentions, it's a double, it's like repetitious. It mentions 2 times the same words twice. Yocheach teichiach. Yocheach means to rebuke, to reprove, but it says yocheach teichiach. And when it says twice the same word, the Talmud tells us means that this is something the Torah wants you to do not only once, but even 100 times. Meaning, it's talking about, the Torah says, when you see somebody else doing something which is not good, you need to put him on the right path. You need to reprove him. Obviously, the way to do it is with ahavas Yisrael, with love and with care. When you do something with love and care, that's the only way you can get to somebody to do something. But basically, he's telling you here that you should not give up. Even 100 times, he says. Don't give up. You have to constantly keep doing, it says, until he hits you. But so here the Alter Rebbe is talking about that he doesn't give up and telling us the importance of davening. The importance of davening and praying with kavanah. Says the Alter Rebbe, therefore, I cannot contain myself, and I cannot refrain from from crying out yet again B'koil noise chalusha, in a voice of a pained, weakened voice, meaning that the Rebbe is telling us, I tried to say it so many times, I'm weakened. And he says, "B'matuse minaychu berachamin nefishin." I plead with you out of deep compassion. He says, "Chuso no al nafshei seichem." Have pity on your souls. Ve'ishamru ve'izaru me'oid me'oid, and take care extremely. Be very, very careful. Ala Torah, regarding concerning the study of Torah. And with the service of the heart. What is the service of the heart? This is prayer that is done with proper intent. Not just prayer. Prayer that is done with kavanah, proper intent. And it says how to do it. Lehaschil kulam yachad ke'echad mila b'mila. It says all should begin the prayer in unison, as one, word for word. We should all daven together. You know, there's among the poskim, the rulers, most poskim say that in order to be considered that you pray with a minyan is when you pray when the Amida together with the 10 people, together with the minyan. Then it's considered you're part of the minyan. So some people come, if they're late, they rush and they come together for the minyan. Other people even skip parts and they complete later. So first of all, this is, in Chabad, we always daven in the same order. We don't skip. We don't complete later, we daven in the order. But there's some poskim saying, there's a poskim, Yad Eliyahu, says that when the davening with the minyan is not just Ba'amida, not just the Shmoyne Esrei, but the whole davening, from Hoyt they should daven, pray together. And it seems here the Alter Rebbe agrees with him. He says that we all need to begin together, not this one says this and this one says that. One is mute and one is talking idly, idle talk. Hashem Yishmereinu, may God protect us. It says, "Ve'ikar hasiba ugrama benezakim u'ma'yerdim lifnei hateva." It says the main cause and that the instigator of this damage comes from those who are leading the service. In other words, Alter Rebbe says you have to be careful who you send to lead the prayer. You have to have someone who does it properly. He says this has become it's abandoned, and whoever wishes to grab it and to snatch the honor, this is an expression that it comes from the Bible regarding those priests in the temple that used to grab portions. So here also the davening is like a sacrifice. Some people decide, okay, I want to become the leader. I want to lead the service. But if he's not doing it well, if he's rushing, he's not doing properly, then it's not good. So that's one problem. Or another problem could be the other way around. There could be that there's some people who are qualified to do this, but they don't want to go over to the Amud and lead the services. And therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, this is the counsel offered. The takana kavua should be an established regulation. Choik v'lo yaveh, a law that should not be violated. Oid chas v'sholem, God forbid. The hainu, which means livcher anoshim kvuim eruim lezeh al pi hageiron. That is to choose fixed individuals that fit to this office, fit to this role, to lead a minyan, and they should do it by a lottery, or by consent of the majority of the minyan of the worshippers. The hainu. And the Alter Rebbe specifies what are those qualifications. Shemispalalim milo b'milo, that they should pray, those who pray word for word, b'derech hamitzua, at a moderate pace, b'koil ram, and aloud, not quiet. V'lo marichim yoyse midai. Neither those who are prolonged too much. V'lo mekatzrim, and not those who make it racing it very shortly. V'choitfim chaz v'sholem, and that they grab it quickly, God forbid. V'aleim, says the Alter Rebbe, there is a duty. Mutal choyve liyirid lifnei tefillah. And those people, there is a duty to go and lead the davening, to go to the amud and to daven. Kol echad ve'echad beyomer sheyagia loi, each and every one, and the day that is his determined day. V'les if eilav saviv samuch kolam ispalalim bekol ktsas al kaponim. And it says, he should assemble around him those people who pray a little bit in the voice, audibly. V'lo belachash, v'lo choitzim chas v'sholom, not those who rush, God forbid. It says this is mentioned in regulations of many old regulations of different communities, different towns. It's not something, it says Alter Rebbe, that I just came up with. It is something that is done and it is established in regulations of communities. Ve'ato, and now, bosi lechachan ulechaskan uleamtzan. I came to renew them, to strengthen them, and to invigorate them. Bali moitu oilam chas v'sholem, that they should never again be weakened, God forbid. And Alter Rebbe here writes in the words in Yiddish he added in this letter, Gewalt, Gewalt. I don't know what the translation of the Gewalt is in English. Gewalt, it's an outcry. Ad how long will this be an obstacle for us? He says this is an obstacle. Is it not sufficient? It's not enough, all these reproofs and troubles that went upon us. May God protect us, and He should console us with a doubled consolation. And He should purify our hearts to serve Him in truth. Continues the Alter Rebbe, strengthen and fortify your hearts, all who hope in God. Then that's so. It continues now to the second part, and that is Gam Ligmer Kol Hashas B'Chol Shana V'Shana. Also to complete the study of the entire Talmud year after year. In every city, every town, every community, they should divide the tractates of, either by consent or by lottery. If there is a city that has many minyanim, many shuls, that every shul should complete the Talmud among themselves. And if there's too few people in this minyan, then they should join together with other for larger minyans. This statute should not be changed, and it should be we should do it every year. V'kol echad, now the Alter Rebbe says something else. V'kol echad ve'echad ma'aloimdim anal, igmer la'atzma b'chol shavua atamanya apir shebeteilim kuf yutes. And each and every one of the participants in the study of the Talmud, they should also complete every single week the chapter 119 in the Tehillim, in the Psalms, that is the eightfold face. What does that mean? This is actually the chapter that we learn, that we say every day now this year. This is the Rebbe's chapter, 119. And 119 is a chapter that has every single letter of the alphabet. It begins 8 verses for each, that begins with every letter. There's 8 verses for that begins with the letter Aleph, 8 verses with the letter Beis, and so on. So it says, those who study the Talmud should also read this chapter at least once a week. And it's a long chapter, the longest chapter in the Psalms. And what's the connection? The Friedrich Rebbe says that when you study Torah, you have to know that just like the Tehillim, when you read the Tehillim, obviously you don't understand everything in the Tehillim. Even if you know Hebrew very well, you know that there's depth in the words of the Tehillim, and whatever you read, there's much, much deeper things in it. So the same thing is studying the Torah. As much as you understand the Torah, there's much depth into the Torah which you don't understand. And so you read this chapter, and also this chapter 119, every single verse in this chapter talks about the Torah, the praise of the Torah. In many different ways, King David explains the Torah, talks about the Torah and the mitzvahs. Now, the Alter Rebbe goes to the third part. So we covered the davening, the learning of the Talmud, and now he says the third part about Shabbos. He says, he says, moreover, since due to the weakness of the people in this generation, are not capable of fasting as they need to. If you remember, when we learned the laws, the part of the Igeres Tshuva, the Alter Rebbe spoke about the different sins to correct properly, you need to fast. And then the Alter Rebbe says being that we don't have the strength to fast, we have to change it with giving tzedakah. Here the Alter Rebbe gives another eitzah, another advice, that also when you're keeping Shabbos carefully, that also helps to forgive the sins. It says, L'zois eitzah yehutza. So now he's offered, his counsel is offered as follows. As our sages of blessed memory say, Kol Hashem Shabbos Keil Chasai, Moichalim Loi Kol Aveinaisav. Anyone who keeps the Shabbos properly, all of his sins are forgiven. And he says, Keil Chasai Daika. The term, according to its law, keeping Shabbos according to its law is used precisely. L'chein mutal al kol echad ve'echad liyizboki behilchas rabsi l'Shabbos. That is why it is therefore incumbent upon every individual to master the great laws of Shabbos. To make sure to be aware of what it means to keep Shabbos. Another thing says the Alter Rebbe, says when it comes Shabbos, there is the simple keeping of Shabbos. There is the laws that you can do and the laws you cannot do. But there is also the inner meaning of what is Shabbos. One of the things it says on Shabbos, do not talk idle talk on Shabbos, God forbid. Why? It says, because it is known to the students of Kabbalah. Okay, we're back on. Sorry about that. So he continues and said, all of the mitzvahs, they have the internal aspect and they have the external aspect. There's two aspects for every mitzvah. V'chitzonius me'ashabbos What is the external aspect of the Shabbos? Ishvisa me'asiya gashmis. This is cessation of physical activity. That is the simple. That is the simple meaning of Shabbos. The external aspect of Shabbos. Just like Hashem ceased to making the physical heaven and earth. Now, what is the internal dimension of Shabbos? The internal dimension of Shabbos is the intention in the Shabbos prayer and during one's Torah study to cleave to one God. As it says, Shabbos la Hashem Elokecha, it is a Shabbos to the Lord your God. This is the internal level of the mitzvah of Shabbos, is the element of remembering. You know, in the Ten Commandments, in the Torah, it mentions twice. Once in the book of Exodus. The second time is the way Moshe Rabbeinu repeats it in the book of Deuteronomy. So the book of Exodus, it says, Zachar Osiyam Shabbos. One of the Ten Commandments, obviously, is to keep the Shabbos. One time it says, remember to keep the day of Shabbos. The other time it says, Shomer Osiyam Shabbos. Guard the Shabbos. So it says, remembering the Shabbos is to remember. This is by the kavanah when you pray properly, the internal part of it, the internal dimension, is to remember in the prayer and the study, the echad, to connect to Hashem echad, to connect to Shabbos. Shabbos l'Hashem Elokecha. Now the inner dimension of the element of observing the Shabbos, Shomer Sema Shabbos, b'pnimius. What is the inner dimension of this? Yashvisa midiburim gashmim. This is refraining from speech about material affairs. Just like Hashem, just like God ceased from the 10 utterances through which He created the physical heaven and earth, for one opposite the other, Hashem create this world. So that means on Shabbos, this is the time not only to do the physical mitzvahs, but to connect to the inner part of the Shabbos, which is completely elevating ourselves from this physical world and connect to the spiritual world. So this is the siyum, this is the conclusion of today's shir, the conclusion of the Tanya. Mazel tov, and it should be. Bezrat Hashem continue as the Rebbe says in Yom. This is New Test Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, and the wish, the bracha that it gives is Lashana Teiva, the Limud HaChassidus, the Darkei HaChassidus, Tikasevu V'Sichasemu. We should be inscribed and sealed for a good year in the study of Chassidus and in following the ways of Chassidus. That Hashem should join us again tomorrow night for the Siyum and Farbrengen. And we'll start Sunday morning once again. The Tanya, we start on Shabbos, but the class online will be Sunday morning, 9 o'clock.